The first report of its kind to forecast social need has been published, and then with that report's author, Policy and Reform Minister Chris Robertshaw. One of the big statistics in this report, one of the headlines, is that the number of pensioners will increase by 75% over the next 20 years, but the number of working age people will increase by 2%, which is quite a striking imbalance. How will you take that forward?
Well, let's go back to the big debate, because one of the things we articulated last night was the fact that historically government has worked in silos, and the data that's in the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment already existed but had never been brought together in a holistic sense. Now we've had a series of meetings with commissioners and local authorities. We've started the meetings with the general public. And what we're talking about is how we bring government together and the services it provides to coalesce better around the community. And of course, part of that is making sure that you have the right information. And the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment is a great piece of work by a whole range of officers across government, never done it before, that will help us focus into specific needs in specific communities. So it's a start, it's the first one. We've also identified areas and emissions that we haven't got the relevant data about. For example, surprisingly, we haven't got a coherent, simple focus on the cause of death for right across the island, which is very strange. But that's one of the things we have to get data on next time we do the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment, which next time will be that much more detailed and that's much more helpful when we come to delivering services in a much more targeted way to the community. And targeting is important because, again, historically we've had this broad brush, clunky categorisation of delivery of welfare and services that were badly aimed. And if you've got less money or you've got greater demand, as you've just touched on with this growing elderly population, you've got to make sure that you spend that money very, very carefully and very accurately. So I think you're beginning to see this thing starting to come together and is a response to that challenge.
Another interesting point that was raised was the fact that young people are being priced out of the property market and that we have a huge waiting list for community housing. You're planning to get rid of the points system, is that correct, for Manx residents?
No, that was one of the proposals in the original report that we got, and that has been put to one side. But yes, we're very much aware of the importance of making or giving access to both public housing and private sector housing more accessible, and you're right to identify that problem, and that work is ongoing.